Today on Get in the Lab, we're talking about following through 6 little hacks I use to keep my ass in line, plus guest posting. Are you doing it yet? And introducing a new segment in the show called Lab Spotlight. More on that in 3, 2, 1. Plato said, "Know thyself." It's not always easy, but it is necessary. This is Get in the Lab. Hey, welcome back to the lab. My name is Megan. Here on Get in the Lab, I run small little experiments to reach big personal goals. That's my niche right now. Okay. So for the people who are like, "What are you all about?" That's kind of what I'm doing. And like I said in the last episode, I'm just gonna do what I do. Okay. Thank you for being here. I'm lucky to have you. As you can see, I'm in the jungle. No, just kidding. I'm in my backyard. Why? Because it's so nice today. We're having a little bit of clouds, which is perfect for capturing a very nice light. And it's getting friggin' hot. Like right now, guys, it's 7:55 a.m. And I'm like, dude, I got to start... Squirrel. I got to start taping the show a lot earlier because last time, as you could kind of tell by the sheen on my face, it was so hot trying to tape the show, and it's really distracting for me to get into the groove of talking about whatever I'm talking about because it's so damn hot. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we start taping the show super early in the morning when it's, perfect outside? And we're starting to, like, as a married couple, Kevin and I are starting to clean up the backyard and making our house a home. So I was like, why not take the show outside every now and again? Maybe in the summer this will kind of be a regular thing because I kind of have to. It's just so hot inside, guys. Anyway, welcome to my backyard. Today we're talking about following through because last week we were talking about taking that big leap of faith, right? Sometimes you just got to be like, do it instead of trying to plan and hype yourself up and do all that sort of thing. And I made the analogy of climbing where you got to dyno yourself up to that next hold sometimes. You just got to let go. So I also talked about, okay, cool, you can pat yourself on the back and say, bravo, self, you took the leap of faith. But much like, in my climbing analogy, I took that leap of faith and then I was like, okay, good job. And I kind of gave up halfway and I didn't follow through. So of course I wasn't going to reach that hold. But one step at a time, once you're ready to kind of make that leap once again, sometimes you have to fail in order to just kind of see what it feels like. And again, I'm going to make another analogy about climbing, which is, you're kind of just gauging the distance, right? There was one move, the crux of the climb. Again, we went climbing last week, and I was just like kind of gauging and to see how far I needed to push myself, and I knew it was doable. I hadn't reached it yet, but I had to kind of gauge and just kind of fail a little bit, fall down a couple times, see what that feels like, see what it feels like to reach for that hold. Fail a couple times more, and then really kind of go for it, follow through, and know that trust the process, trust myself to follow through. So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. We're going to talk about following through. What else? Because you can decide to leap, and pat yourself, but you're kind of celebrating too early, and you don't follow through. And so you don't want to be this sort of like, when we're speaking in terms of, say, launching a podcast, you launch your show, maybe you get your reviews, and this is kind of reminiscent of what we did back in the day, but we didn't follow through on that momentum. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. I want you guys to be solid all the way through, not just this shiny object on the outside, but empty on the inside. I want you to be solid gold, okay? Solid gold through and through. All right, so first I want to introduce a new segment in the show because I got kind of bored about talking about myself. You're still going to hear about me for sure when it's relevant, but I would love to introduce this thing called Lab Spotlight. So who's in the lab? Who's really well, this is going to be subjective because it's whoever kind of comes across my radar, whether they're a big business or a small one. But I wanted to do sort of a spotlight kind of thing and kind of highlight others who are doing things that really speak to me, who are creating content with heart and just people and brands that I want to kind of point out to you guys and not just say this is the Megan show, this is the Get in the Lab show. Who's getting in the lab, right? So Somebody who was following through, and it kind of just randomly came across my feed, and I don't read a lot of news stuff, which I'm starting to do, just to kind of see who's doing what, and who can I learn from, right? So I recently ran across Netflix's animated, this is why it kind of caught my eye, because it was animated. It's an animated startup story, and it tells you in about 3 minutes or less, or 3 minutes or so, about how Netflix got started. Which was really interesting. I kind of knew the story already about Netflix, which is a testament to their brand and their business model. But it showed me something a little bit more deeper and why they were successful, which was, while Blockbuster Video was this huge conglomerate sort of business, Netflix was able to kind of zig when they zagged, and they were able to foresee what was going on, which was that DVD was dying, right? It was all about streaming. And they saw that. They knew that from the beginning. So even though Netflix was this thing where you could rent 2 DVDs a week or whatever their packages was back in the day, they knew that DVD was going to be dying out. So already they had in plan that they were going to be streaming video, right? And Blockbuster, even though they were bigger and they were even attacking Netflix for being, for trying to step into their territory of renting video, they were able to adjust and flux with the times, with these new changing times, this modern way of receiving of entertainment and movies and video and things like that. And so they were really, really smart about it. And so they improvised. And so they were able to flex with the times and the changes. They knew, DVD was dying. And so Blockbuster, even though that they were big and powerful and established sort of brand, they still fell because they weren't able to adjust. They weren't able to improvise like Netflix did. And well, Netflix kind of took it one step further, and they predicted what was going to happen and moved on that prediction, which was very, very key. So the very key lesson in this lab spotlight, guys, is to take to heart and mind is that adaptability, being able to adapt. When you see a sort of change in how marketing is, which is, we're always seeing that kind of like on a daily basis, especially with Google being the number one thing that we all depend on, that changes all the time, right? Being able to adapt and keep up with the times, and if you can, like Netflix, be ahead of the curve. And so flexibility, improvisation, I think that is something that I want to kind of take to heart for myself and for you lab rats, is that adaptability in this lab spotlight here. And that is also going to be our first little trick to following through. So when you're following through with something and you want to kind of hack this idea of following through and reach your goals, and not just start strong, because any company and person can be like, I'm going to start strong, I'm going to start my channel, and I'm going to have a really clear niche, and I'm going to have a really clear whatever, but then if you don't follow through and be consistent and deliver time and time after again, it kind of falls by the wayside, doesn't it? So it's kind of the same thing, because if you say, let's take the example again of launching a YouTube channel. Let's launch a YouTube channel. Let's start off strong. Everything's branded. I got fancy headshots. I know what my content plan is, but if I don't stick to it, and if I don't learn how to adapt to the changing landscape, say YouTube changed their whole way of reaching people, and if I don't learn how to adapt, like with Facebook video competing now with YouTube, then I'm going to fall by the wayside. So it really is a lesson and a really great reminder to all of us who are creating content, whether we are established or not, whether we had a great start or not. What matters is like right now, what are you doing right now? And are you paying attention, right? So I think it's really a good lesson for you and I to kind of, a hummingbird. See what happens when you go outside, you get to see nature and crap like that. Yes, nature and crap. So so that was really fun, right? So we talked about some other company who's doing awesome things, albeit they're big now, right? They're kind of hinging on this like big business versus small business thing. They're definitely big business, but they're executing on small businesses with heart kinds of strategies on how they're reading the landscape. I'm sure they're not 100% kosher on everything in their business, as we all kind of think big business does to get to big business, but I commend them for that. I respect respect that, and I want to take that into whatever I do, and I want to impart that to you guys today. Okay, a little bit about myself. I'm celebrating my second article in Good Men Project. Not today, but a couple days ago. But I'm very happy about it. We're also going to talk about how that helps. It's a sort of guest posting sort of thing, being featured, that kind of thing. Good Men Project, if you didn't know, is a relationship good person. It's Good Men Project, but obviously I'm able to write for them and contribute. There's a number of other female writers and other articles that appeal to the female audience. So it's basically like a good living relationship blog, life lesson blog, which is a fan favorite over here, actually. Kevin's always telling me about an article on Good Men Project. So I'm very happy, very honored to be featured there, and we'll talk about how I even made that happen later on in this episode. So, which brings us, to our next site about guest posting or being featured, which we'll talk about guest posting in the niche site update segment. All right, let's take a break. Let's get some water. All right, next segment. Where are we at? 12 minutes. Perfect. I just say perfect every time. Guest posting. So here's my niche site update, right? So I was writing content last week and just kind of writing general info articles, letting Google know how to index my site, how to categorize my site correctly, right? I'm putting in all of the necessary plugins, making it look as pretty as it can. It's a basic site. The only thing that I really touched was like the logo, and it looks clean. So I was like, okay, I think I'm good to go. I think I want to try guest posting now, because that's the most legitimate, safest SEO tactic that you can use to bring traffic to your site and bring link juice. So there's a difference. There's a difference between just having looking for a guest posting opportunity that brings traffic and that brings link juice. So these are two different things that I've learned in my research. So traffic, yes, is good. A lot of people coming to the site through that host site's blog. And maybe some of that traffic can impart to you, which is not as important for me, as I've learned. Because I'm not trying to be an authority site. I'm just trying to make a niche site that makes $500 a month, right? That's my goal. So I'm just trying to build up. For me, if I'm just trying to do that, I should just focus on building backlinks that will support that. So link juice, right? Link juice. So very good links that are feeding directly back to my niche site. So that's what I want to focus on, and that's the kind of difference. There's going to be more, I guess. Maybe I should make more of that delineation in the show notes. But that was my focus. Okay, so with that being my focus and focusing more on link juice, that means that I needed to really filter my eyes as to who was I going to pick to spend my time creating a guest blog post for, and make sure that they hit certain parameters so that they do what they're supposed to do for me, so that they do bring a specific amount of link juice back to my site, right? And so how was I going to do that? How was I going to filter? There's a ton of blogs out there. So thankfully, the Lord above sent me Dave Chesson's site. Dave Chesson's a friend of mine. He's a lab rat. He's been incredibly helpful throughout the beginning of this show. In the beginning of this show, he's always been a great contributor to how I see certain things about SEO and marketing. And so he created a fantastic blog post on everything that you need to know about guest posting, that I think that that you need to know about guest posting, because there's a ton of guest posting guides and tutorials out there, and they're like, this is why you need to do it, it's important, this is how you do it, this is how you reach out. But the reason why Dave's guide is different is because it touches on like I was talking about, how to filter, right? So you can pick any blog out there who accepts guest posts, but if they don't hit certain parameters, it's really not going to be worth your time. And so that's what Dave touches on in this blog post, which is really good. And it's a good time reading it as well. So it's not this like boring thing where it's confusing or hard to understand. It's a really good read. It takes you step by step. And also, after I went through that same article, I created a video as to how I navigated through his post. So the sequencing for me and how I put his steps in order is just a little different. So I think maybe just one or two things is switched about how I go about using the information that he put in that article. But I have it linked in the show notes, so you can check that out, as well as Dave's post. And so I basically go through all of his parameters and just kind of check them off in a video and show you how I did that. And then you'll be able to choose a host blog, right, that is going to be worthy of your time using these parameters, which is really cool because it just makes it very fast. Like, you can spend hours all day trying to figure out whether or not this host blog is going to be good for you to guest post on, right, whether it's worth your time. So I did all that. I did that 2 days ago. So shout out to Dave Chesson. You can check out his stuff in the description. Big shout out to him. I love me some Dave Chesson and Kindlepreneur. Very, very helpful. Check out his blog as well. Other really fantastic guides if you're an author. Okay. So, so after I read Dave's post, I created a guest blog for Honkyat. I'm not sure that's how you say it, but I've seen honkyat.com like throughout, whatever, like Facebook, whatever in the feed and everything. And I knew that they were kind of a big blog. So I knew that I was going to be chewing off perhaps a little bit more than I could chew, and perhaps I would get declined. But I wanted to see where I stood as far as like what's the quality of my writing, because I've never created a guest blog before, and just to see, right? So that's what I did. I created a blog post. I tried to follow all of their instructions, like linking back to their articles so that I'm giving them a hand. And I submitted it on Tuesday morning, and then I received it actually back Tuesday night. And their response was, thank you for submitting. We cannot accept it because of these reasons. So the reasons were, and I was like, oh, okay. So what was the issue? The issue was that I kept sending them off the article to go find out how to do whatever I was teaching them. And I was like, okay. I was a little confused because the only time I was linking out was to do what they had said, which was to link back to their other articles when relevant, right? So I was like, okay, maybe they couldn't tell that there were embed videos in this article. And so I think that needs to be clarified for me as a writer. Like in the rules, there was no mention of any videos or like how to put in videos into your tutorial. So that's something that I'm going to bring up to them. I looked through all of your stuff and I didn't find anything saying anything about videos. Like, do you want me to link to a video? Do you want me to embed a video? My thinking was, let me embed a video so I don't send people out of this post, right? So Is that an issue? Like, do you need to have the raw file of the video, which I have? I can do that. So there's a couple of things that I need to be clear about as a guest post writer, so that way I can deliver the right information. So nonetheless, it was declined, right? And I was like, okay, cool. I just want to know why and how I can fix it. And they complimented me on the structure of things, and they said the structure is good. You have something here, and we invite you to send it, but please have something. They said, and I quote, "Can you actually give some advice to our readers?" And I was like, that's a little snarky. And I said, I accept your challenge, because they still invited me to resend the articles. So whoever was writing me back was like, I can imagine that person kind of being somebody like me, but actually saying what was in their head. So I took that as a snappy challenge, and I'm rewriting it as we speak. So That was my experience with guest posting so far. I wanted to just update you guys on that, and I will let you know what happens with the whole video thing. Like, how do you want me to input these videos? And of course, every blog is going to have different what do you call it? Rules for their guest posting, but I'll just make it clear for you guys. Whoever wants to post for Hongiat, I don't even know that's how it's called. Honkiat. I'll put it right here. Whoever wants to guest post for them, I'll write all of my my findings if I get accepted. If I get accepted, then I'll let you guys know how I did that. Okay. So we are running on 1 battery left on the recorder. We're gonna hit pause and we're gonna come back for the last segment, talking about following through the rest of the hacks. Right. Okay. So we'll see you in a bit. Water break. All right. Okay, and we're back. We are back with the last segment, guys. So, again, we're going to talk about following through. I just updated you on the niche site update and the guest posting thing. That was a fun little experiment. Okay, so let's talk about another hack to following through. So, get help. Get help. First segment, right? I talked to you about getting published in a Good Men project. I now have 2 articles in there. That's been like a dream of mine, so I'm just very happy and proud with that. And they got shared a number of times in the thousands, and so I'm just happy to be writing about relationships in front of an audience that cares about relationships. That's really cool. I've been trying to do that forever, and that wouldn't have been possible without my friend Kimanzi Constable. So if you don't remember who Kimanzi Constable is, I actually interviewed him on the show when we went to Maui when we were shooting a wedding for Kevin Levu Photography. And it was just so random and so cool to be like, hey, we're going to go shoot a wedding. Oh yeah, Kimanzi lives in Maui. Dude, let's do an impromptu interview and hang out, and get to actually meet somebody in real life. So that was so cool. I would love for you to check out that interview. He's got an amazing story. He used to deliver bread. and he didn't even have he didn't even graduate high school, and now he's writing for huge blogs like Huffington Post, Good Men Project, Entrepreneur.com. He's getting paid to speak like crazy, like $10,000 paid to speak kind of deals, kind of gigs, traveling all over the world. His family is beautiful, amazing, kind people, hospitable people. So yeah, please definitely check out Kimanzi Constable. He'll be in the show notes, and also check out that interview. It was really cool of him to open up that window for me to have my writing featured in Good Men Project, because he opened up this window to everybody who was friends with him on Facebook and said, hey, if you are a writer and you would like your stuff to be featured in Good Men Project, send it over. I sent it over, and I was like, I have a little something, and he said, yeah, cool, I'll run it. And boom, it was published, and then it was shared many times, and I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. So thank you, Kimanzi. I can't thank you enough. That's an incredible honor. Very grateful to even participate and contribute to a blog of that caliber. That is one of my dreams, to write about relationships and have people who dig talking about that stuff and reading about that stuff be received that well. So thank you again. Check it out in the description in the show notes. Okay, so as we're talking about following through, let's go ahead and reiterate why following through is so important. If you're a sports person, or if you've played sports, like I myself have played volleyball, basketball, taekwondo, and now climbing. So I can't do all that other stuff now because I injured my back. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like whether it's a spike or a free throw, or a front snap kick, or a dyno move, right? Following through is just as important as starting off really strong. So I say this to you guys, I bring this up because like a lot of us, Kevin included, will start off really strong. We like buy all the fancy shit, right? Buy all the gear, buy all the equipment, start off really strong, get really hyped up about it. But then the following through doesn't happen. Like it's just like when Kevin buys friggin', he gets into a new sport and you do it like every day, and then he kind of gets burnt out on it, right? You get burnt out not following through, and not kind of allowing that activity to see to even develop. And this is the same thing like with me and mountain biking, right? He bought me a fancy mountain bike and I was like, cool, okay, I'll try it. Got the helmet, got the GoPro, got all the cool gear and equipment, starting off strong, like, oh yeah. And then there was the uphill. Then it got hard and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I got burnt out on it as well. And the same thing, it's kind of situational, but you don't want to take that habit of like, cool, starting out strong, hyping yourself up, say like launching a show or a channel or a podcast, starting off strong, but then not allowing yourself to follow through. So that's why I kind of bring this up. It's awesome to like pat yourself on the back and say, good job, at least I tried. But this is something that I don't want you to make a habit of, myself included, and be like, okay, at least I tried, and then you kind of give up. Just like that climbing example that I was telling you guys about, where it's like, okay, cool, at least I jumped, at least I attempted the dyno, but then I kind of gave up halfway. And of course, I'm not going to reach my goal of reaching that climb or reaching whatever my goal is because I gave up halfway. I didn't follow through, right? So we don't want this to become a habit because you're not allowing yourself the opportunity to develop the skills to actually, make that goal a reality. So I want you to develop the skill. I want you to excel at a level at which, you had to build up to, and you appreciate it more because you had to build up to it. So, I'm learning this lesson every day. I'm not perfect. I believe that I'm a strong starter as well. I'm very impulsive. I make decisions on the fly, which I'm working on. I'm trying to be less impulsive and trying to be more calculated. I can launch things very quickly, but my follow-through average is just atrocious, right? So this is something where the mental game kind of comes in, and it's a result of not getting burnt out. So, oh no, the sun's coming. Hopefully I'm not. God damn it. See, this is what happens. Okay, really quickly, guys. So how can we break this habit of not following through? Okay, one we already covered was improvisation, being flexible, being adaptable, being able to adapt to your surroundings like Netflix did, right? It takes a lot. It takes a lot to stay in the game for the long term. You have to be able to zig and zag and weave and ebb and flow with the times so that you don't get left behind. So, as we take on, Netflix's example, and if you can, take advantage of that weaving and zigging and zagging and actually predict what the next move is going to be and act accordingly and counter, right? So next one, number 2, we already talked about it, ask for help. So sometimes, we don't follow through because the burden is too heavy. Getting published on Good Men Project would have been impossible without Kamanzi's help. One, because I was like, fuck it, I don't know how to, it's a big blog, I'm not going to bother with that. But with his help, now I'm able to reach that sort of audience. And you just never know when those opportunities are going to arise. So day to day, be in the day to day hustling just with heart, creating content with heart, right? That's all you can really do without being sleazy and trying to be like, who's going to help me out in the long run, right? That's sleazy. Okay, so number 3, here's a new one, okay? Self-awareness. So realizing that when things are hard, realizing that that's just a phase. Like I just went through a phase with the end of season 2, and I knew that being in that darkness, being in that kind of pit of self-doubt was going to pass. I saw the light, but it was very small. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I was like, how do I get there? I know that this is a phase. I know that it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, then everybody would freaking do it, right? So I know it. And just having that self-awareness helped that I didn't stay in that state for a long time, because you could definitely stay in a pit of self-doubt for a long ass time. Why do you think there's like shit ton of people who are in community colleges for like the 6th year in a row, right? Because they're stuck there. So I don't want you to stay stuck there. It's natural to be there. It's natural to feel that pit of self-doubt and to not know what the fuck you're doing. But if you stay there, then that's an issue. Okay, so being self-aware, like, hey, this will pass. All right, number 4, another new one. Okay, adjusting your perspective to know that resting is not quitting, right? So when we're in neutral, when we get out of first gear, we're not in reverse, but we're in neutral. We're in that middle spot. We're like, okay, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? That's not quitting. So if you need to rest, like I did, don't freak out. Okay, don't freak out. Don't freak out that you're tired or that you're burnt out and you just need to take a breather from whatever the heck you're doing, even though it's a passion project, even though you love this thing. that it's not quitting, right? So I think that we need to make that kind of very clear delineation in our mind that being neutral, not moving, taking a break, is not quitting. Okay, so I'm just going to say that. All right, number five, okay? Invest. So when my sister launched her website, she was so proud of it, right? And she did it all for free. And she's soon now going to launch a podcast. Dropout Joe's coming soon to you guys. I'm incredibly proud of her. That's awesome. It's awesome that technology has allowed us to launch things for free. That's amazing. At the same time, I would always say, like, well, if you invest in yourself, say you invest in your website, even though it's like $3.49 a month for hosting, for real legit WordPress hosting instead of a free Weebly site, or even if it's premium Weebly where you get your own domain, that has now become more marketable. You now are invested, right? So now you care more. So in order for you to follow through, because it's great to launch something for free and be like, sweet, I launched it, cool, I'm good. No, you're not good. You're not good yet. It's good that you did launch, but until you actually look back and say, hey, I created that, you're not there yet. So if you take it upon yourself to invest, even though it's like $3 a month, like that's nothing. Even though it's like $3 a month, you're now going to be more inclined to follow through and be motivated to launch a show, to put out a show every week, because you paid for it, man. You're not going to be like, I paid for it. That's what a person says about free stuff, right? So if it was free, you'd be like, it's free, I'll get to it when I get to it. But if you paid for it, even though it's $3 a month, you're going to be more inclined to actually show up, right? Which I think is great. It's a great tool to impose upon yourself so that you do follow through and build that habit of following through. Okay, so that's my tip to you, Jenna, is to invest into a real website, not just a free one, because everybody knows the difference between a free one and a paid for one, even though it's not even that expensive. All right, number 6, last little hack to following through. Okay, own it. So this is something that I want to push like hardcore, this feeling of ownership. I, as a creative, find that extremely important, especially when I'm trying to train others to be creative. Yes, you can be trained to be creative, to be an artist. I think we're all artists, because I tweak and touch everything on this show, to this shot, to this red water bottle that you see right here, to wherever I put this laptop. Everything is tweaked and touched by me, and how I edit and how I put filters and crap like that. I own it, and I'm so incredibly proud of that, because I have complete control over everything. And so when you own it, when you stamp the page, when you sign your name, like an artist does, it does something to you. It makes you follow through. It makes you, sorry, there's a man. There's a man looking at me. Stop looking at me. Stop it. Anyway, I'm pretty damn proud of it. I've tweaked and touched this show to the best that I can in an appropriate way. Even though the niche is not very clear, I don't care, because it's mine. And I'm responsible for all the successes and the failures of this show. I have a responsibility to this show, to myself and to you guys, to show up and do the best show that I can every single week, right? Or at least I try to every single week. So, it's a big reason as to why I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning and I still be really tired. But it's a big reason to do this work, this moment right here with you guys, to set this mic up in my backyard and talk to a camera, when I know I'm not just talking to a camera, I'm talking to you. That's very special. That's very important to me. That's this moment right here where I'm having so much fun, is why I rise every morning to do the work that I do. So I feel like this feeling of ownership is something that I want to impart to you guys in whatever you want to do. So that feeling of ownership, like, this is mine, I made it just the way an artist does. Okay, so Another kind of analogy that I want to make to video games, which I love so much, I'm playing right now, is like playing in a huge open world game. They call them open world games, where you can go anywhere and kind of do anything. You have certain missions to do and stuff like that, a la Witcher 3, which is dope right now. You start off at level 1, right? You start off at level 1. You have this whole world to explore. You can even look at the map and see all the little places that you can visit, and you have so much to do. And man, this is why I don't get burnt up about paying $65 for a game, because look at the journey, the adventure that I get to go on, right? And that's kind of how I look at creating content and building a business from nothing, from scratch, is that you have so much to do. I'm level 1 and I have so much to do, but to me that's exciting. That's why I love the hustle, guys. It's like I have so many side quests to do, and it's going to be really, really fun, and it's going to be hard sometimes, but I get to level up to okay, cool, level 14, okay, cool, we're getting to the double digits now, level 15, okay, cool, oh, level 20, what's up, right? So you keep kind of leveling up. And that's why that's why following through is so important. You need to follow through. Like, how are you going to experience the journey if you don't follow through, right? This incredible journey that we're on. So I want to thank you guys again for being here. If you've made it this far, that's really great. So, oh my gosh, I love that game. I'm always thinking about that game anyway. But that's kind of how I look at life. Life is a game, and you can make it really, really fun and adventurous, and level up, and really enjoy the journey, even when it's hard, right? Because when you finally beat that boss, or when you finally, summit the crux of that climb, it's all worth it when you look back. It really is. It's just you can't even put words to it. Sometimes you're just like, ah. I made it. All right. So there you go, guys. There's 6 hacks to following through that I hope that you'll use to reach your goals. Okay. And I want to ask and pose questions to you guys. What can you add to the list that I listed here? I listed 6. I'm sure there's more. What can you add to them? Put that in the comments. What do you think of the new segment of Lab Spotlight? The Spotlight of the lab, of highlighting other people and kind of learning from their grand sage advice and model, right? What do you think of guest posting? Is this something that you are going to be adding to your content creation scheme? Is that something that you're thinking about? Is there something that's still kind of making you go, what? Because I was like that. I mean, I always knew that guest posting was important and it's something that I needed to do, but I was like, oh yeah. It looks, I'm not even going to bother. So do you feel that way too? Put that in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And of course, I'll see you in there. As always, I answer every single comment, even though the weird ones that are like, I'll let you read those. I think those are other videos. Anyway, I answer all the comments myself. So I hope to see you in there. Okay, so remember all the show notes, Dave's thingy on the guest posting thingy, and then my cliff notes on Dave's post is in the show notes, as well as the interview and show notes on Kamanzi Constable. You should definitely check him out. Incredible person. I can't believe it, man. He used to deliver bread, doesn't even have a high school degree, and he's doing so much with his life. And he's an incredible model for me. I'm always in his feed trying to model him. So he's definitely somebody for you guys to follow as well. But yeah, all of that can be found in the description. All 6 of these little hacks. Go to that right now. Click on it. No, just kidding. Go there after the show's done. Okay. Remember, show notes in the description. So like this video if you did. Subscribe to become a lab rat today. And as always, my name is Megan, reminding you to get in the lab. We'll see you. Peace out. It's nice. It's nice being out here in nature. One day, we're going to grow a big wall of leaves. So I won't have to look at my neighbors. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.